Welcome to the Sens Spotlight podcast brought to you by the Sick Podcast Network. Bet the beauties with Betway and scan the QR code on the screen or click on the details section to create an account and download the app. Must be 19 plus. Please play responsibly. Also, Betway is an official partner of the Ottawa Senators. Shout out to Nathan Doring and Xavier McGuire for winning the contest to go to the game last night against the Edmonton Oilers. Obviously, sucks that they lost, but I hope you guys enjoyed the game. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast. Can't wait to get into the nitty gritty with Pierre McGuire. So hit it.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. Send Spotlight.
Here's Alfredson bursts the speed, gets a shot away, scored! Daniel Alfredson ends the game in overtime and sends the Ottawa Senators to the Stanley Cup Final for the first time in franchise history.
The sickest Ottawa Senators podcast. It's gonna be sick.
And we are once again joined by Pierre McGuire. Just what were your thoughts on last night's game? The Senators coming back from behind, but losing 3-2 in overtime to the Edmonton Oilers.
I thought they battled really well, Alex. I thought that there were some really good moments for Linus Ullmark in that game in particular. I still think it's a team trying to find their identity, but they did have pushback. I didn't like the non-call, Connor McDavid on Ridley Gregg. I thought that was a huge swing moment in the game. And that leads to Isaac Howard's first ever National Hockey League goal. But by and large, if they compete like that on a night-to-night basis, you're going to be happy as a management team, as a coaching staff, and probably as a fan base. So I was much more pleased after last night than I was after Saturday afternoon, where I was just like, this is unacceptable. Last night was very acceptable.
Yeah, no, it's interesting just hearing the players post-game, and obviously Travis Green says it's a big step in the right direction. Thomas Chabot says, hey, this is Ottawa Senators hockey. Obviously got it to lose, but the fact of the matter is if they play that way consistently, as you said, Pierre, they're going to win a lot of games, right? They're not going to get burned by, not every team has Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. So if you play that way, I also just think the resiliency they showed, and Nick Cousins said a post game, just they didn't change their game when they were down 2-0. And I think earlier this season, if they went up a couple goals, they maybe played a bit differently. If they were down 2-0, I think because they've given up the first goal of the game 6 of their first 7 games, they're kind of chasing the game. And I think they got into those bad habits of trying to chase a game, cheat for offense a little bit. So I think all in all, as you said, it was a really good game from them. I still don't know how I feel about the Stützle Cousins Batherson line. I'd love to hear your thoughts, but I think all in all, sucks they didn't get the 2 points, but if they keep playing that way, they're going to win more than they lose.
So there are a few takeaways on individuals. I didn't like Timmy's 2 penalties. Timmy can't be doing that. And they're both slashing penalties. Those are not good penalties. So Timmy's got, and I'm sure they'll talk to him about it, which is fine. But Timmy's important. Like, you look at his record last year, and he played the full season, 79 points last year. So now you're taking almost 40 goals out of the lineup when you don't have Brady. Let's be honest. Let's just say it what it is. It's either 30 to 40. That's where it's going to be for Brady. So you're going to not have him for a while. You need somebody that's going to be able to be a game breaker, and that's Timmy's thing. So he can't be taking 4 minutes worth of penalties. He can't. He can't. That's number one. Number two, I know he's got the hot stick. Shane Pinto's a great player. He's a really good player. And it just shows you how refined the game is. You can't lose that face-off in overtime.
Yeah.
You can't. You scramble it. You lose it. You make sure everybody knows where to go. But that can't happen. And that's a teaching moment. And it's not just everybody blames the center all the time, but it's everybody on the ice. So that's another teachable moment that I think they can get used to. Chabot scores a great goal, which I give him credit. He launched that thing big time. Trent Frederick probably gotten a lot of crap on the Edmonton bench because he didn't get in the lane. He didn't. He's got to get in the lane. And Chabot, to his credit, saw that and blasted it. But defensively, he and Nick Jensen are having a tough time. They're having a tough time.
It's interesting. I was talking to some colleagues after the game about just because, I'm more probably on the Jordan Spence side of things than you are, Pierre, right? Because I do like the skill, even if they don't have the size necessarily. But I thought Nicholas Manpalo and Tyler Clevin were Ottawa's best pairing last night. They were
That's
really
why
good. They were
100%
really,
agree.
really good. The analytics back it up, the eye test, everything. They were really good.
Agreed.
But
Agreed
I think
100%.
Nick Jensen off the hip surgery, he's 35. It might be time for him to maybe sit out a couple games. I think at this point, I talked to him yesterday. I think he feels very confident in his play. He's a very determined player, but I just I don't think that pairing is playing well. I think Shabbat has been struggling because of Jensen as well, and I wonder if you bring Spence in, maybe put him. I don't think you play him with Shabbat, but just change things up and maybe give Jensen a couple games to maybe recover, think a little bit, and just because I think that pairing's really hurting them right now.
That's why I brought it up. We're on the same page. I would move Montemapalo up, and I would put Spence back with Clevin, and I would give Jensen a rest. It's not a knock on him. It's not ripping on him. Like you said it appropriately. Hip surgery, 35 years of age, hard to come back from. He's always been a robust player, and he's a gamer. He is a total gamer. He brings it every night. But you got, I think, one of those things where they're mad at, I don't want to say they're mad at Spence, but they're upset with what happened with the Islander game. And you know what? I don't blame him. I blame the coaches. And I brought it up to you on Sunday
Yeah,
in the show. As a matchup situation, they fouled it up. The kid didn't. That's a bad matchup. They never should have done that. No chance.
no, exactly. And I thought outside of even in that game, he had one screw up, which in a sense cost them the game. But
Yeah.
I thought he was one of Ottawa's best defensemen.
He
I think he's
was.
played really well. And I
Agreed.
think even on defensively, like he's a plus player so far. Like if you look at Ottawa's scorecard and all the players, it's like minus, minus, minus. He's not one of those guys. He's
No.
not getting crushed at 5-on-5 or anything like that. So obviously got burned on one bad play, but I think he's one of Ottawa's 6 best defensemen right now. And if you're losing, play your best. Like maybe it's kind of like Tim Stützle, right? Like at the end of the day, the Senators are only going to go as far as their best players take them. So
Yeah.
play them, right? And they're in a weird conundrum, but I think as we open the show, if they keep playing, I think it's the simplicity of their game. Just simple, no cheating, everything kind of grows from that. And I'm cautiously optimistic they can play that way against Philadelphia. I think they'll win, and then you can maybe build a couple wins.
Just don't take any more penalties because your penalty killing stinks. Edmonton goes 2 for 3 on a power play yesterday, and I know they tried to be more aggressive. I watched what they were doing, and they were playing more of an aggressive diamond. And the first period or the first goal by McDavid, they're a little over aggressive, and they don't have good enough weak side rotation, so he's left all alone. And I think it was Nuge that put it out front, if I remember correctly, and then McDavid finished it off. Yeah, the penalty killing still needs work. I mean, it's no good. You can't. It's hard enough when you give up one. They gave up 2 out of 3 last night. One of them was a game winner. It's one of the recurring themes. I like a lot of what's going on there, but I don't like the penalty killing.
It's you know what I did feel like last night, like obviously the McDavid goal, like you just can't leave him wide open. I thought that was more a bad read by Greg. I don't know why
Yeah,
he
that's what I
lost
mean. The
him.
weak side rotation wasn't very
Sure,
good.
no. I agree. But I felt like overall, actually, they killed much better than they had at the beginning of the year, just because they were more aggressive. So, and then the overtime goal, like if you win that faceoff, I actually thought they killed the 4-on-3 as best as you could against McDavid and Draisaitl. So, I mean, their triangle PK looks much better than their 4-man right now after killing a 5-on-3 against the Islanders, which looked really good considering it's a 5-on-3. And last night, even on the 4-on-3, like it's with McDavid and Draisaitl, they did well. But yeah, it's funny. Last year to begin the year, it felt like every little detail in the game that the Senators were missing or were struggling with would get burned. And right now, it feels exactly the same way. I can't tell you that this team is playing terrible hockey, but all the little details in the game that they miss are in the back of the net, and that's the difference in the NHL. It's such small margins.
And that's why we talked about how important it was for Brady not to get injured. And I thought it was a big early season swing moment when Brady got hurt against Nashville with the Roman Yossi cross check. I'm watching that and I'm going, this is not good. And I'm watching him play. And then all of a sudden, I'm watching at the end when Ottawa's going to try to get back in the game, and Brady's on the bench. Brady's on the bench, and I'm waiting for somebody on TV to say, hey, Brady's not playing. And I'm still watching this, and nobody's saying anything. And I'm like, this is maybe one of the early swing moments for the Eastern Conference in particular. You know, without Brady, Ottawa's not nearly the same team. They're not. And it's not all about one player. But in this case, you know, I'll give you the numbers: 29, 37, 35, 30. In the last 4 years, those are the goals that he scored.
Yep.
I mean,
yeah.
And they're not getting any goals from Zetterlund. I know that.
Let's go there. Might as well. But he's just – I thought he played okay last night. I noticed him, which I think is a start. But, man, that contract, and he's not a top six player. I mean, who knows? Things can change. Maybe he starts to turn around. But, yeah, I think I keep feeling like this year feels a little bit year of hellish, kind of like a year from hell. Like, you have a great start to the season, first game, beat Tampa Bay, everything looks rolling. You get pounded by the Panthers, but it's the Panthers.
Yeah.
And then you lose your most important player for 8 weeks, and you're on the back foot. And then your PK is struggling, but it can't survive because you're not getting goals from Tkachuk. Allmark's in a little bit of rut. You can't, so it's lean days in Ottawa. But I do think if they keep playing the right way, I think it'll slowly mold together. But they just need to be 500 until he comes back.
I think you agree there's not a lot of room for error, though, Alex.
No.
Like, here's a team where if you take 3 penalties, you better kill off 2 of the 3. If you get 4 power plays, you better get at least 1 power play goal. You know, if your face-off play isn't 52% or higher, your chances of winning isn't particularly good. Like, there's certain numbers, and I know you like the number stuff. There's certain numbers that do calculate that lead to wins when you're an undermanned team. And 3 of the ones that I just presented to you are really important. They're really important. And so their room for error is really slight right now. Really slight. But I did like their game. I don't want to be all Debbie Downer, but I thought that there were a lot of good moments in that game last night. I did.
The one thing that I feel like you've probably heard this a million times as someone being in the league for so long, and it's cliche, but it's true. They need saves. they need Linus Ullmark to be a Vezina caliber guy for the next 6 weeks or close to. He can't be an 854 save percentage.
No.
Like there's no, and I think that's definitely some of that's on the Senators in front of him, but that cannot be the case. And I don't know if I feel that inspired by him. I still feel when he's going post to post, he's very sluggish. There was a play on the 4-on-3 in overtime.
Yeah.
He kind of got dragged out wide. I forget who it was, missed the net, and he took 2 seconds to get back up. Like, it was a slow recovery.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, he's 31. They paid him all this money. I mean, he has the cachet. What do you think? Like, do you believe that he can be close to what he was in Boston, or do you worry about how he's playing so far?
I'm worried a little bit, but I do think there's parts, like I saw yesterday, there were some parts to his game where he was really good. It's just now it's what you're kind of touching on. You just didn't use the word. The consistency needs to be better. There has to be more of, if I face 25 to 30 shots, I'm stopping almost all of them. Maybe I'm giving you 1. Maybe I'm giving you 2. But the race to 3, you're not getting there before my team is. And that's kind of how Ottawa has to play right now. They got to win almost every race to 3 in the league. Every game, they got to be 3 or more goals. And until the penalty killing's better, that's the way it's going to be. I'm telling you right now, that's why they got to get to 3 first.
Yeah. And what's interesting last year with this team, they had stretches where I think they had the most shutouts in the league last year. It's like They need to go back to that. They need to play the most boring but effective hockey they can play right now.
Especially now without Brady. Like you touched on
Yeah.
it. When you take a player like that, I went through this before. When we lost Mario, especially in the early 90s in the playoffs, we changed our neutral zone forecheck. It's not because Mario was our only player, but we were playing the New York Rangers, who had won the President's Trophy in the second round, and Mario broke his hand. So we had to figure out a way. How are we going to make sure that Messier stays off the board, or Amonte stays off the board, or Brian Leach or Sergei Zubov, like, big time Adam Graves, big time players. And so we came up with a scheme to insulate our guys so that our defense didn't get exposed. And we played a real heavy matchup game. I think, and Travis was in the league. Like, Travis will know what I'm talking about. Travis was in the league then with the Islanders. They got to find a way to come up with a scheme that works for all their players and keeps the games really tight till Brady comes back, and they're much more of an explosive team.
And I think you mentioned it, just like the PK, like we've talked about it for so much, but I thought on 5-on-5, like last night, they were pretty good at handling McDavid and Draisaitl. Like, and I thought Pinto, oh man, he's one of my favorite players. Just there's so many times like I'm in the press box and I'm just watching the game and I'm just looking for Pinto when he comes on the ice, because that's a cue that McDavid and Draisaitl are on the ice. And there was one moment where he went on the ice and they didn't go on, and you can see him just looking back, being like, where is McDavid? Like, why aren't they here almost? And then eventually they came on, and he made a couple beautiful kind of stick checks, just reading the play so well. I thought that's the one room where I feel like, okay, if they can get to that identity of, okay, we're going to shut down the team's best with Pinto, who's one of the best in the world at that. You hope that, sure, the Cousins, Batherson, Stützle line, they're going to give up some, but you're also going to likely have a lot of chances too. Yeah. So I don't know if I love that line, but the fact of the matter is, as you mentioned, Tkachuk's out. They have no left wingers. So I think with Stützle on the left wing, it just makes a lot of sense, even though I don't know if I probably would rather Dylan Cousins on the wing than Tim Stützle, but just a byproduct of having no left wingers in the organization. It makes sense. And yeah, I think Timmy needs to play better. Can't take dumb penalties. But yeah, we can't be too doom and gloom, but I do feel right now this team needs a little bit more oomph and just a couple wins. Just get the confidence rolling.
You're around the room all the time, and I really admire your work. And so here's my question for you. Do you get the sense, sometimes you're around a team a lot, you get the sense management's going to do something to help the players that are there? They're going to make a move because they see their light on the left side up front. They see their light on the right side on defense. Do you get the sense that maybe there's a move coming?
I feel like if they had their draft pick, Pierre, there would be a move. I would feel very certain. I just feel like Staios is a bit handcuffed. Like, what would you do if you were in Staios' shoe? Like, would you press the panic button and make a bold move right now?
I wouldn't make a bold move, but I make a move to stabilize either the right side of the defense or the left side of my forwards. And by that, I mean, I wouldn't be going big game hunting, but I'd look for a stabilizing type player. You're probably not going to get help in the Eastern Conference. I don't think anybody's going to say, oh, yeah, you come, we'll give you something because we want you to do well, because I don't think anybody in the East really wants Ottawa to do well. And it's not a knock on Ottawa. It's just they know they were a playoff team last year, and everybody right now thinks they're relevant in the East. Everybody thinks they're relevant. So they don't want to help Ottawa. But I think there'd be a Western team that maybe you could do a deal with. I wonder if you could do something with Calgary. I wonder if you couldn't do something with maybe LA, who's looking for some help. I wonder if you couldn't do something with San Jose, who hasn't won a game yet. And there's some players that might be able to help you. So I'm asking the question. I'm not because I'm.
Is there any player that you like on those teams that you'd think like would be maybe a good fit in Ottawa, just for maybe not like buying low?
I'm curious about Toffoli. I'm curious about, the Ottawa 67's tie and the fact he's played in the Eastern Conference. He's won a Stanley Cup. He's got pedigree around the league. People respect him. They like him. So I wonder about him. And it's not because I think he'll end up in Ottawa just because of cap reasons, but I think Nazem Kadri eventually is getting traded. I think Naz is getting eventually traded out of there.
He'd
I
be
don't know.
perfect on this team, I think.
Right. So I think they're two teams. I'm just telling you that I think there are two teams in the league right now where if he's not in Calgary, he fits really well on their team. One's in Ottawa and the other one's Montreal.
Yeah, for sure.
You
Yeah,
know,
Montreal, that's the thing. They have the
I don't think
assets.
Calgary's going to trade him to Vancouver. I think they learned their lesson. You know, when they were moving guys over from Calgary to Edmonton, they're like, you know what, we're not doing this anymore. But I could see Montreal and Ottawa being two teams. If Naz ever became available, I think those would be two teams that he fits really well on either one.
Yeah, I'd definitely rather have Nazem Kadri than Tyler Toffoli, but the thing that Toffoli would bring would be just he's a pure goal scorer. Like he gets you 25, 30 goals in his sleep. I think he'd be really good with Tim Stützle too, just a guy that Stützle can feed on the right side. And like I think about Kachuk, Stützle, Toffoli, like that makes a lot of sense.
That's why I'm bringing it up.
Yeah, exactly. He's not the greatest defensive player, so he's a bit one way, but at the same time, it would fill a need. I think Nazem Kadri, he would be the perfect player. Maybe you trade Dylan Cousins along the way, kind of a one for one. I don't know, but he'd be just a perfect player in Ottawa.
I think he fits in. I think he fits in those two markets. I really do. It'll be. I think eventually, this is a big week for Calgary. If they don't get some traction here pretty quick, I think they're going to have to really decide what direction they want to go in terms of are we rebuilding? Are we retooling? Are we doing a makeover? Like, what are we doing? Because they're losing traction here pretty quick.
Yeah. I mean, it feels the same in Ottawa a little bit.
No, there's more pedigree in Ottawa. There's more depth in Ottawa. They've got star power, pretty significant star power.
I will say, like, just being in the room yesterday and talking to a couple guys, I think they feel pretty confident about their group. Like, I remember being in the room last year when they were, I think, their first 20 games are 8-11-1, and you could feel the curse or the kind of over the shoulder, like the boogeymans of just years past where they would struggle and not make the playoffs and underperform. I think last year gave them a jolt of confidence where they feel, okay, this isn't good. Like, and I think the game against the Islanders was really like a turning point in terms of, okay, like we really need to change things. At the same time, I do think the scars aren't maybe as, I think some of them have healed enough, right? Where I don't think the start of the season is all consuming them. Just talking to Sanderson, Pinto yesterday. So I think they have the right resolve. It's just putting it together. It feels like the puzzle pieces just never align so far this season where the PK might have a good game and then their goaltending goes adrift and vice versa. They might have a really good game offensively, but the PK lets them down or Allmark plays poorly, right? And it's just having everything line up together consistently. And I felt for the most part last night that happened outside of the PK. But even then, I thought their PK was actually half decent last night, considering the opponent. But it can't be 59%, 57%. Like you're just like end the season now. It's over if that's the case throughout the season.
How the fans doing in the building? That's my big concern because it doesn't come across on TV.
It was a lot of Oilers fans, which is the case. I think it's been. I don't want to. We do this show for the fans, so I don't want to kind of go at them at all. But I'm a bit surprised it hasn't been more. But there hasn't been more fans at games. I think the energy is good for the most part, but at the same time, the team hasn't given them a lot to cheer for. So there's a little bit of, beggars can't be choosers, right? Like if you're not winning, then it's hard to get fans into the stands and to be excited for the team. But I do think if they turn it around, the fans will come. Like if you saw the playoffs last year, which I'm sure you did, it was unbelievable. That game 6 was just, or in Ottawa and all the 3 games in the playoffs, unbelievable crowd. Like
I just think it's the most underrated market in the league. It's a place that I love working to. It's a place I love going to. I believe the fan base there is electrifying. I really do, because they really do care, and they produce so many players over time the city of Ottawa and the surrounding area. It's unbelievable how many pro players or college players or junior players on the men's and the women's side that they produce. It's amazing. It really is. I love it as a hockey market. I think it's fantastic.
Do you have a favorite moment just being in Ottawa? Like, I know during your two
well,
stints
for all
or
the games,
World Juniors or
yeah, World Junior 09 was really special, especially the Eberle goal was really cool. 07, going to the Stanley Cup final, doing all those games for NBC at the time was really special as a special playoff run. I know it didn't go exactly the way they wanted, but, you know, when Kunitz scored in Game 7 in Pittsburgh in overtime, even though, you know, Ottawa lost, I loved the vibe in the town. I did every game in that series. It was unbelievable. It was so good. It was really good. I mean, there's so many. You know, I remember the first game ever in the Palladium, coaching in that.
Really?
Yeah, I coached in that game, and that was against Montreal, and I'll never forget that. You know, it was really good. I don't have any bad memories from Ottawa. I really don't. You know, I mean, there's certain things I wish would have gone a little differently with different people, but outside of that, I love the city. I mean, I still go back there a lot. So I loved it.
We need to do a live show or something.
We will.
We will get that done. I have a funny story just about the World Juniors that I'll share with you. I don't want to say my age, Pierre, just to age you, but I was very young. I was very young, and my dad had kind of they're not season tickets, of course, but like tournament pass or whatever, and we split it with another family. And the thing is that we would get the gold medal final, but they would get the semifinal, right? So we split it with another family. And so throughout the tournament, I was going there. I'm 10. I'm like the biggest hockey fan. I know like where like Tyler Myers plays for Kelowna. I know where everyone plays, right? And there's two guys beside us in the 300s, and they were probably my age, like in their 20s, give or take. And they'd have like the beer heads and everything like that. And they took a liking to me. And so we're talking hockey throughout the whole tournament. And so I go to the first game, and it's Sweden, Slovakia. Thomas Tatar is like unbelievable in that tournament for Slovakia. Yeah. And I'm at the game, and, you know, Canada's going to play after. And I'm like, I wish I could be at the Canada game, of course. And the two guys come up and say, hey, our company, wherever they worked, we got 4 free tickets and we're taking our moms. Do you want to sit beside? Do you want to take our seats for the game? And my mom's like, no, like she was there for me, not for the hockey.
She was hockeyed out.
And my dad had to like convince her to take to stay. And I just remember that the rush of that Eberle goal, and I was probably the only one in the stadium that was there for free. So I'll always remember that. It was just unbelievable.
That's cool that you remember that. You know what? I remember so many moments from that tournament, Alex. One of the coolest things for me is my wife always, when the children of my wife would go to the tournaments, they didn't go all the time, but obviously it was close to Montreal where we were living. My children, I came down to see my wife. She was still sitting in the stands, and I'm looking and I say to my wife, what are the children doing? She goes, there's this new Tim Hortons thing that's out. It's called Roll Up the Rim to Win. So they were going around the lower bowl, picking up all the wasted Tim
Hortons. Oh my God.
And they were rolling up the rim to win. And we had a ton of those things, getting in the car, going back to Toronto. It was too funny.
That's amazing.
That was pretty good. Yeah, that's one of my funny takeaways.
Needed a free donut or something. Yeah.
No. You know what else was really cool in that tournament? The power play for Canada. That was the start of the 1-3-1, or the bumper that they call it now. But that was Guy Boucher's idea.
Really?
And, yeah, that was Guy Boucher's idea. And Pat Quinn did. I thought Pat Quinn, when they were down 3-0 to the Americans, Ronnie Ralston was coaching the Americans. Pat was coaching Canada. You could see Pat was large and in charge. He knew. He had so much experience. And Ronnie didn't have that much. So Ronnie kind of got a little intimidated, I think, and you could see one group took over and one group went backwards. It was pretty amazing to watch that. And, Tavares walking Ryan McDonough is one of those that I'll always remember. I'll always remember that one. That was an unbelievable statement by JT. Really, really cool stuff.
You know, it's funny. Tokarski was the goalie
Yeah, Dustin.
And he was
Dustin.
I think he was a PTO last year. I don't know. Anyways, he was in the Senators organization in last year in September, and I went up to him like, you know what? I was at that game. I was at the game where you made the save, and we just had like a fun chat about recalling the 2009 World Juniors. It was really cool. I was like, oh, Dustin Tokarski. Oh my God, my hero, right? It was a cool moment. And I was like,
That's
you
so
don't
good.
look that much older than me, but you were anyways. So it was a cool moment. But shout out to Dustin Tokarski. That's a very Ottawa name, I feel like, in a lot of ways, even though he's not from Ottawa, but just from the World Juniors. Yeah. Before I let you go, is there any maybe room for optimism or something that you kind of take moving forward for this team?
Yeah, I think that Ridley's going to play pretty consistently good. I'm excited about that. Artem Zub, Sanderson are a legit pairing. I love what you said about Jordan Spence. I do think he needs to go in. I think they need to give Jensen a rest. I would move Menton Paulo up, and I would put Spence back in with Clevin. And to me, the biggest thing is just tidying up a little thing, whether it's face-offs in your own zone, not taking penalties. They're just little minuscule things that need to be tidied up. And then I think the team can start to progress. The one thing, though, is you can't make as many mistakes as you could if Brady was playing. You just can't. You don't have the ability to come from behind as well. I thought your point at the beginning was so strong. Because they're not getting the lead very often, it forces them out of their game plan. And when they get out of their game plan, it's a problem.
It's not good. Just beat the Flyers. Then you have a couple of games against Washington, Boston, Chicago. Like, they're winnable games. Like, just string some wins along. Just get back to 500, and then just survive until Brady Tkachuk comes back. So hopefully they can turn around. I think if they play the way they did on Tuesday, they can definitely beat the Flyers. So hopefully Allmark turns it around a little bit. The PK is okay, and get a couple goals. But Pierre, thanks so much for taking the time and doing this. We really appreciate it, and can't wait to chop it up on Friday.
Can't wait, my friend. Thanks a lot, Alex. Take care, everybody.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Sens Spotlight on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.